Okay. Welcome everyone. Thank you for your patience here as we work through some tech challenges in there. According to my clock, I have 6:02. So with that, I am going to call this meeting to order. So again, this is the hybrid meeting being held in person at Village Hall and online via Zoom of the library board on May 20th. The link to the Zoom meeting is at the top of the agenda. We do have a quorum and the agenda was properly posted. So with that, our first item is public appearances. This is the public's opportunity to speak. I am not seeing anyone in person or on Zoom. So we're gonna move on from there. Now, before we go to our next agenda item, I'm gonna propose a quick reorganization here of the agenda. What I would actually like to do is move the library board president's report, my report, up to the top, because that will help explain a few things, including why one of our new members here, Sarah, is actually in the building. So any opposition to make that change? Okay. So with that, I'm going to shift us up to the library board president's report. So the first one is, first off, I apologize with this agenda, the order, and really stemming from a bit of miscommunication on my part between Cindy and I and how we want to do appointments to the library board. So again, at the end of the day, the village board has the power to make the appointments, and what Cindy was looking to do is have us advise. And really what that means is have me as library board president advise on who should the appointments be. Because we did appointments, the second round of them, in Monday's village board meeting. So with that, as you all saw, we did open up for a call because during the initial village's call for volunteers, we did not have anyone submit a candidacy form for the library board. So I did this follow-up one, and we had a few people fill out that form. And based off of that, I moved Sarah's name forward, and she was appointed by the village board on Monday. So with that, in addition, Megan's term was up, and she graciously just said she would continue. So Megan was also reappointed to the board. So with that, I'm going to take a moment to turn it over to Sarah to welcome you. And then if you want, not that I'm going to put you too much on the spot, do a quick little introduction of yourself. And so yes, to do this, you have to hit the person button right there, and you're good to go.
Hello, my name is Sarah Ferger. We moved here, my family and I moved here in September of 2025. I am a professional librarian. I have my master's in library and information science from Dominican University, where I'm also an adjunct. I teach an introductory cataloging course there, and I am the cataloging and metadata librarian at the Wisconsin State Law Library at this point. So I saw that there was an opportunity to get involved in libraries in my new community and thought it would be a great opportunity, great use of my skill and expertise, and I'm going to do whatever I can to support the mission of the Village of Cottage Grove Library.
Great, thank you, Sarah. So that's why for under new business, we will not even bring up that agenda topic. We'll just skip over it because we are all set in that regard in there. That is it for my village board updates. And just to kind of finish off the president's report, I will do a quick correspondence update. One thing I just want to bring to people's attention here and is I'm in discussion with a resident to put in 2 additional little free libraries at their own expense. One's going to be on Main Street and the other is going to be on Cottage Grove Road, both of them right off the multi-use paths in there. So then they reached out, we talked through kind of the details and what that would mean, but that's something that they are willing to maintain and put in. So I will continue to keep you all apprised of that, and other relevant village departments are aware of it. And so, again, I also expressed how for Monica, I know you've said before, we have plenty of books to help staff that, so especially for your donations, so they are aware of that as well. But again, I'll keep you in the loop in there, but that's the extent for my correspondence updates. Any questions before I move on? No? Okay, now we're shifting all the way back up to discuss and consider minutes from the April 15th, 2026 Library Board meeting.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Second?
Motion by Megan, second by Allison. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And abstentions? One abstention. Motion carries. Perfect. Moving on to new business. So we have on here, discuss and consider deactivating the library board facilities subcommittee. So as you all recall, that subcommittee was formed and set up to kind of help us initially with the library design process as we were going through the different concepts with the, that was what, 5+ years ago, something along those lines. Ideally, initially at the Friends of the Cottage Library, and then it helped us with the proposal at the now former Learning Ladder site in there, which they've done a lot of great work that we can definitely call back on. But since the referendum almost a year ago, they have not met. I do not foresee a reason for them meeting anymore. So I just want to bring forward to see whether we want to kind of deactivate this committee, knowing that we could always bring it back up if there is a need. But since, again, our mission statement really shifted to the programming elements in there, I don't see a need for that committee at this time.
Agreed. Agreed.
Just a question. What does it take to reactivate it? We just
So-
put it on the agenda and decide we want to reactivate it? Okay.
Correct.
So
We
it's
can
not
al-
cumbersome to bring it back should we need to?
Correct. So we have to do that, and then it's all about appointment process, going through that. So it is going to be a little bit of a multi-step process in there, but it's still not super cumbersome in there to reactivate a committee.
What are the benefits of deactivating versus just leaving it active and not having it be very active?
Yep, so deactivating means that we have to maintain appointments. It is an active committee that we do have to maintain, so it's a little bit more work on, I mean, we're talking about minimal work, but still work on village staff to track that. And then come appointment season, we always have to maintain that those are up to date in there. So deactivating kind of removes that administrative burden in there, and kind of, for us, the other element of it is it shows, kind of goes with, again, with our mission statement and the changes that we made in there. We do, so this is a discuss and consider, so we do need a motion to make any decisions or take action on this.
I move that we deactivate the facilities subcommittee for the foreseeable future.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Megan, second by Sarah. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, moving on. So next is program report. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Monica.
Programming has been super steady and fabulous. April was a really, really busy month for us. I would love to give a huge shout out to our community for the book swap that we hosted. We ended up having 123 individuals attend the event. We ended up exchanging and having over 463 books that were swapped. So the books that remained, they were edited out to see what could be utilized to help stuff free little libraries, as well as a very small portion was saved to kind of use as a starting point for a secondary one that we're proposing to host in the fall. So that was hugely successful. I actually had community members come up to me at different events saying, "Are we doing another one? How did it go?" Because it was so fantastic that we are planning to. The hope is to do an adult one again in the fall. We are going to make a few different adjustments to how we request and what parameters we place on books. Just trying to keep it within that 10-year publication date, super new condition, preferably not discarded or withdrawn from previous libraries, just to make sure that it truly is an equivalent swap of the materials that are coming in. That being said, we had previously discussed hosting a youth book swap specifically, and we have that on the schedule for our summer reading program for July 12th. It is a Sunday afternoon that's about midway through summer, so it's a nice way to kind of exchange out, kind of encourage in case you've forgotten to read for summer reading, that this way we can refresh and kind of reignite that excitement for it for the remainder of the summer. So that will be a youth-specific, and typically children's books, we shouldn't have to put that parameter on it. It's a lot more flexible. So again, this first one will kind of approach it similarly. Based on the turnout, I will be seeking volunteer assistance to kind of help man books and like run to restock the tables. Like I said, this last one turned out way larger than I anticipated. Everything I had hoped. Luckily, Megan was there, and she was fantastic in helping to check out people, and she was so not intending on it, so it was fantastic. So huge shout out to our fabulous board members. But yeah, so that was probably my favorite highlight for the month of April. But moving through to May, we're continuing to grow the Romance Book Club. We love the location for Mr. Queso's. Our date seems to be okay. I think we need to rephrase how we call the club, because I think it's just not as attractive. Like some people are like, well, I'm not sure. I don't want to have that label on it. So Sherry is one of our community members who has been helping to lead that. And she came up with a few fantastic options. So excited about what we could reframe that for. We do have our Lunch and Learn coming up next week on Wednesday. I would encourage you all to log in for that. I will be posting the link via Zoom on our website, not on our Facebook, but I will make a post on Facebook linking that. That's how we decided to do that previously. So that's coming up. And the presenter for that is Jess Richter. This presentation is going to be on agribusiness here in Cottage Grove. So a cute little presentation about that. Everything else seems to be going pretty well with that. We did have this evening our little red bus. They actually were able to bring the big red bus, so that was fantastic. And we had a solid 52 attendees coming in, and it was adorable because some of the residents at Glen Grove were actually waiting, and they were so excited to get ready to go on and get their free books. And a huge shout out to Taylor Prairie and just Monona Grove School District for allowing me into the classrooms to read to the 4K, because one of the little boys goes, "I know her, Mom." So it was really cute. This is that community connection that we're working toward. So that outreach component that ties in with this position. It's really nice being able to see that. So that was fantastic. Tomorrow I do have a meeting with the Historical Society. I'm anxious to see how we can work on future collaborations for that. So be prepared for a follow-up as to how that progresses. Summer calendar, that is our big thing that we talked about last month for me to present on. So in short, we are going to continue with all of our same programming. Tween Scene, Cookbook Club, adult programming, all of that calendar remains the same. The biggest addition that we're doing, story times stay the same, Thursdays, 9:30. Story times on Thursdays will be hosted at Community Park. We hosted our first one there last Thursday. It was great. There were a lot of parents that actually came and said, I had no idea this park was here. And I'm like, you haven't? You need to go check out the story walk. I'm getting ready to change it. So that was a great way to kind of see more elements of our community. So lots of fabulous feedback. Huge shout out to Parks and Rec for amazing facilities. And then we'll continue that throughout the summer. That stays completely consistent. We are adding on, double checking my calendar, on June 23rd, we will start our 10 a.m. on Tuesdays. That will be hosted at Bakken Park, and that is a Stories in STEAM program. For example, it's a much smaller but more modified story time, the emphasis being on that STEAM component. For example, we'll be reading The Butter Beetle Battle. Yes, I will be practicing beforehand. And afterwards, we will actually be making homemade butter. Like the kids get to make their own, so it's a make and take component to it. So doing that, it's a more interactive element with it at some point. So, and then on Wednesdays, we are adding at 3 p.m. That will be hosted at North Lawn, and that is more of an action activity. Each week, we have 8 weeks that we are officially advertising as summer reading. Those will all be themed. For example, ice cream. Yes, we're making ice cream. There will be a camping. We have a games fitness. We have ocean. I'm slightly obsessed with Shark Week, so we're totally having that. And then we are tying in the element for America 250. Then we'll do a music-specific week, and then we'll do a fairy tale week. So all of those will follow that same theme throughout the week. For all 3 activities, even though they're different days, it'll still follow the same theme. So that's how we're kind of beefing up this true summer reading program. I am compiling together a document so people can register for our program, and with that registering, there will be prizes. So the ideas behind, you'll get like a little ticket. If you fill out your ticket with like attending 8 programs, then you get to turn your ticket in and you get to get a prize. Prizes, some of which will be books that we have donated, some of which are the canvas bags and tote bags that the Tween Scene actually made last week. And so different prizes that way. So that's kind of fun. So those are the biggies for our summer reading. Am I good to officially like send that out to the schools? Because we talked about how I had to present it this week.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to get it out, especially because I just did the math with my daughter. It's 3 weeks left, or less than that, 13 actual school days. If you're interested, give or take. Yeah. I had that same thought, Megan. Granted, I was also in the midst of a meltdown, saying I don't want to go to school. Like, you only have 13 days left. So yeah, as long as we got to get it out, we're still going to meet their timeline?
Yep, they're totally fine. They're receptive to it. The teachers know to anticipate physical copies. That way they can share and send home. There shouldn't be any issue in that regard as well, as making sure that it does go into the newsletters, the word. So that's that. And then our big thing is moving on to fall programming. The plan will be, in theory, the same approach. We are averaging 19 programs a month. And that puts us at about 400 attendees for all of those 19 programs on average. So the numbers are fantastic. I think we're hitting most of what has been requested. We're tying in musical components, we're tying in story time opportunities, we're making sure to hit that middle grade hosting no school days, really beefing up the connection with like the no 4K school days, trying to actually get into the physical schools to read to them. The expectation is that we continue that as discussed previously. Mr. Starr, the principal at CGS actually came and was our guest reader at one of our story times. It was fantastic. The kids were so excited to meet their principal. And so I think everything is on track to remain. I would like to kind of transition a little bit more. I was rotating between a noon lunch and learn and then an evening adult program. I feel pretty comfortable at this point making the noon lunch and learn a monthly thing and adding an evening adult program at a different time. I've kind of gotten my feet underneath me a little bit better. So that will add our programming numbers, but I think that we're able to at this point. Is there anything that I need to be looking at specifically?
I was going to ask the question of, like, how are we doing in the balance of youth programming versus adult? And
We
is
typically
there
average at
another-
least 6
right.
adult programs a month.
And that's
so
all, that's like
6 of
distillery,
19, yes.
cooking club, cookbook club. excuse
Yep,
me.
cookbook club. And then we still have our romance book club, but in addition to lunch and learn, and then to be able to have that. So if we actually separate the noon lunch and learn and the evening adult program presentation, I think that that'll end up giving us like 7 adult programs a month. And that's in addition to the card club that we're hosting in conjunction with the assisted living facility at Drumlin Reserve. So I think our numbers are pretty decent, but I think I feel comfortable moving forward with that addition and that distinction if you guys are as well.
I think, as always, when you've proposed a new one, I'm just going to ask the question about balance because it's a lot. We're looking to add another programming on top of advertising it and all the other work. So I just always want to check in with you to see that we're not.
And I totally appreciate the joy of these 2 programs is that I'm not doing the actual program. We have guest presenters. So that does help me in regards of just facilitating the booking kind of a thing. So it's not stuff that I have to actually prepare for a physical presentation. So that's why I finally am okay adding that extra one for that. And there's been some good feedback and interest like, hey, what if we had a lunch and learn about this? Hey, what if we did a presentation about this? And again, a lot of that is going to be dependent and hinge upon the conversation that I have tomorrow with the Historical Society. They're an untapped resource in our area. Their backlog in Flynn Hall, their archives are fantastic. So they kind of almost have programs in a box already. And so I'm hoping that some of their board members and their members in general might be interested in kind of putting on some of those presentations as well. So kind of contingent upon that, but that's going to be a huge expectation. And constantly learning more resources that we have in the area and in the community for some of those presentations.
So is it worth looking into, essentially, it seems like we have plenty of budget, and that we are looking for more ways to reach, again, like the teen and adult parts of our communities. Is it worth looking into hiring or paying for presentation type that, like, I understand the Badger Talks and the Lunch and Learns, like typically those, they are either a stipend or we're allowed to have certain numbers of them per year, that kind of thing. But I'm just wondering, because it does seem like that's a great way to take some of the lift off your plate, is to bring in somebody else who, like, you just have to turn on the microphone. And I'm not sure if there's more places we could be looking through UW or just other things like that, maybe not even one every single month, but just something that would be like a really popular topic that might be appealing to.
That's my hope for
Okay.
some of those big ones, so that it doesn't have to be, but I would like to place more emphasis specifically on that evening adult program component. Now, what that looks like, I don't know yet. I would love to get in the habit of making that connection, like I said, with the Cottage Grove Historical Society. The Wisconsin Historical Society has amazing resources. The Extension Office has amazing resources. I am in talks with Madison Area Technical College to have one of their recruiters who has been decided to be the best person to give a presentation. This is going to be most beneficial to high school age students and their families, as well as adults that are looking to return to education, potentially workforce, additional certification. So the idea is for a presentation on that. So that's multifaceted as to what that will look like. I really want to try and work towards making more connections within our homeschool community. We have a huge homeschool community here in Cottage Grove that is completely untapped. So that is an area that I would like to focus for that as well. I think that their high school students would benefit drastically from that connection, that presentation specifically for Madison Area Technical College. So those are some things that I think when it's going to be that large, that I have no problem. But based on that institution and the conversation and works, there's not going to be. I think the biggest thing with our funding is going to be the continuation of our partnership with McFarland librarians, Miss Heather and Miss Lori, or Miss Liz. I always call her Lori. Sorry, Liz. And so they'll continue with their story times and the Zoom Beanie. The community absolutely loves that. So I think we have the budget for that. Budget-wise, we are going to hopefully continue with the winter version of our all community read. We do purchase those books around about November, October. So that will fall to this budget. So in the works for reaching out and making some connections as to who that could be for that. The community, we did not have a single copy left over for either of our options, even with the brain books, the Anxious Generation and the Amazing Generation. We have 0 extra books, and I think that that's fantastic, that the community is so excited about it. The winter options seem to be really well. Friends of the Library are completely on board with that continuation for that timeline also, and that does allow us to get them out and over the holiday kind of season. Downrins has also graciously already booked us for our New Year's celebration, so that's in the works. I did ask for permission from them to book a DJ and to make it a bit more of a dance party element, so that is something that we'll be utilizing our budget for that. I do have a dream for our budget. I know, Megan's rolling her eyes at me. My dream, I would love to be able to have a projector, just a Bluetooth projector, a small one that I can use for some of these story times, these activities, especially through the summer where I'm off-site. If I could have a projector to project like for more of a music and movement, the kids respond, they do great dancing with me. I mean, I'm a fabulous lead, but to be able to watch Danny go is way cooler than watching me dance some of the moves. So that is something that I think would be really cool to be able to provide offsite. Some kids respond differently. By utilizing that, we're helping to reach visual, tactile, kinesthetic, and auditory learners in a different element. So it's not so much a screen thing, it's merely a tool in presenting. And I think that might be really cool for some of these presentations eventually, and that opens up a lot of programming possibilities. So I would plant that seed. About $250, $300 for a nice one. It can be cheaper. It can be. And I'm fine with that. I'm just saying.
It also could be a lot more, so I think you and I will need to sit down and think through
Okay.
that because,
I've already researched a lot.
okay, lumens is a big question for those as someone that
Yes.
also did a lot of personal research for their own outdoor.
Yes.
Anyways, sidetrack. One other thing for fall programming, I know you and I briefly had a conversation, so I might be putting you on the spot here a little bit, because this is also very dependent on community partners as well. But since we do have, the way the budget has been trending, we do have some space. So the idea is, do we want to try to do an event with partners on some, again, do we want to do a bigger speaker coming in, similar to what we've done recently around screens and brain development, or go off a different path on that, since we've done a lot on kind of that tween phone elements in there, because that was a community need that was well intended over the past year between the fall and then our spring events here. We do have the budget, but is that something that the library board will would be open to kind of pursuing, and if so, what would the ideas of potential topics be? So have you put any thought into that, Monica?
I love that idea. There are a bunch of presenters. I'm not sure if you all want to continue where you want that to continue. This is a hot topic. It's not going away. We've presented it now from a tween mental health element. We've also presented it from a family component and how to prepare screen safety. We mentioned the whole AI element. I think that might be a really interesting next step. UW does offer a lot of presenters that are able to do that, that could fall under Badger Talk. So I'm not sure if that's what we want to use that one for, or if we want to find someone who's more specialized to provide a presentation on that. I say that more from a image distortion element, in which images that we are posting on different platforms are then being kind of stolen and modified and utilized in an AI element, and how that is and what that means. Because I think that there are a lot of people that don't understand how that works, that it is a possibility, and how to best protect oneself. That has been a conversation that I've kind of heard out and about in different circles. I think that would probably be the next step in that continuation of that series that I am aware of on my radar at this point. I love this idea, and I really loved our community partnerships, Stoughton Health, Kula Yoga and Wellness. Oh, they're doing a summer yoga program for me. So really excited about that. And then the Cottage Grove School and Family Organization, the Monona Grove School District. The possibilities are endless for these continuing partnerships, and I love that. I will need some assistance and suggestions for that continuation, though. Do you all have a topic?
I like the AI topic. I feel like we've done a lot on the screen time stuff, and the AI makes sense to continue with that. I think we should all do a little poaching of looking through what other libraries are offering things, since Sun Prairie obviously saw your amazing cookbook club, and now they're gonna do something similar. Like, why, we don't need to reinvent the wheel, but if there's something, or again, just, I often get a lot of the ideas from, what am I seeing on Instagram? What author is big right now? What's showing up on Good Morning America and Today show that everybody's talking about? And so I think if we just set that as a sort of volunteer task for the next few weeks, that library board people kind of look and think about something that would appeal to a good chunk of the community, adults primarily, I think is the way to go with it.
Yeah.
And then, put a few dollars towards getting something significant. Partnerships across all these different organizations you've mentioned is a good idea too. Because aside, the only one I had thought of too was AI, but I'm sure there's other, like, that was what came to mind when we were first talking about this too. But
I
I'm
like
sure
that we're on the
there's
same
other-
page. I think that
Yeah.
that.
I just think it's something that most people are kind of like, well, I feel like I know something about it, but I definitely don't know a lot, and I probably need to know more.
Well, and I don't want to make it all negative. Like, everyone
No,
uses it at
absolutely
some
not.
component, and I don't want to make it this bad, scary element. But I think it might be cool to have a presentation even on pros, cons, dangers, benefits, kind of a thing. That could be a good conversation for it.
If we go down the AI realm, I definitely have some context we can go into in there, especially the work in my day job with the tech colleges, working with the IT programs in there. Plenty of folks. We've had some. We'll just say we've had some conversations about AI, and I already have some ideas on some speakers. So.
I think too, this might be a kind of a hot button topic with all of the data center. We're gonna put it politically, strong feelings, both pro and against. I think there's a lot of misinformation, confusion. I'm seeing, things flying around on various kinds of social media, and so understanding from a as neutral as possible position what the effect data centers would have on our community might not be a bad idea either, especially if we're bringing in community partners, those people that might be affected both positively and negatively because I think there's a site out near Sun Prairie that's being considered now. And what was it, DeForest, right? Yeah. So all that stuff is still ongoing. So very hot button, passionate topic might be something we could tie in there.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that this is a potential future agenda item for our next meeting, a large adult-based fall programming event.
Yes. I'll get started on some of that research, continue with the connection. We do, programming-wise, have a gap with that teen age group. We tried a live-action role-play kind of game, the interactive games for it via Pathfinder, Dungeons and Dragons. It absolutely did not take off. Zero interest, not conversation, no attendance, despite that being something that was consistently posted and suggested through surveys and forms asking for suggestions. So we have that gap. Again, that connection and that presentation with Madison Area Technical College might open up some information in that regard. So just, if you guys don't mind to think and kind of help me, this is not a just us problem. This is a national library problem. So it's okay if we don't have an immediate answer, but maybe just these smaller presentations might be our answer. And in that regard, I know that some people have older teens, and if you have suggestions or if they have ideas, I'm more than happy to engage with that. But otherwise, I think we're good with that, and I'm going to probably go ahead and work on a bit of that calendar for fall, highlighting some of those dates and booking spaces for that. We are shifting the CI story time. I spoke with Ashley today. We had a fantastic conversation, and we're going to shift it, instead of doing a story time, more of a play date, and highlight more of the connection and what that means for grown-ups as well as for their younger children. They do similar programming at some of their other sites. So the story time just wasn't as... That was providing a duplication of services that we already have. So in an effort to best appeal to the broadest range of our community, that's the path that we're moving forward. So just a heads up to explain why that's transitioning as such. But otherwise, I think I'm good, finally.
I have another question. Is that okay? Okay. Story walk? Where are we at with that? How often are we updating that?
Probably about, it ends up being every other month.
Okay.
Mostly because we were trying to tie it in with the...
the village proclamations or
Thank you.
resolution type things?
But the
Yes.
problem is, I didn't get the proclamations until right after they were approved, and I then have to research a book because I'm not going to just put out any book that meets that topic. There's a lot I have to check to see how many pages are in the book. Sometimes I have to see the physical inside of a book to make sure that the visuals are actually going to be engaging. Is the font going to be appealing? We try to make things more ADA accessible. So there's a lot that goes into selecting a book. It's not, oh, that's a great book, I love that. Great, that might not work for how it's being presented in this manner. So following that timeline, I cannot do that unless we do things way more in advance. So at this point, it's just about an every other month. We are due, it is happening. It's happening. I've already found a great book. Yes. So
And I don't think we had, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we said, like, they all have to necessarily line up with the resolution. That was a great tie-in that we were aiming for, but if
Yeah.
that's a big barrier,
that's a hiccup.
then we can probably be more flexible.
Do you
to-
want it to be on a more consistent, like at the beginning of a month basis? I'm okay with that. I can pre-purchase a few books. We have a few books already like on the shelves that we have 2 copies of. I have narrowed it down. Previously, we were utilizing 3 copies, and I've cut it down. I can do it with 2 copies. So that saves us at least $10 to $20 every time we swap it out.
In time. I mean, I don't, my opinion would be, I think every other month is still a sufficient,
Okay.
you know, every other month, like, I don't know that we need to be doing 12 of them throughout the year. Like, that's a lot of time and effort, energy on your part. I think the key or the like benefit to using the resolution as kind of a starting point was they're often tied to our DEI ABCD goals and whatnot. So maybe if we just make a point to try to continue to focus on a DEI focused book, I guess.
That's kind of the element that I
right,
tried to take.
Right,
and
and
anytime
which I
we do
think
that,
you're kind of doing anyway,
own
so.
voice is kind of an
Right.
idea and concept. So if you guys are comfortable with that, I'll just continue in that vein. Okay.
Okay. Oh, my other question was about promotion. Our newsletter and, you said the papers are going out to schools, correct? Okay. Are we gonna have those available like at programs and stuff too?
Yes.
How, are things going out with Facebook? All of that,
Yes.
like, we have all these amazing programs, we need people coming to them and they need to know about them.
And all the same. A lot of it has been, there are a lot of community members that are sharing it on different platforms. So that's been a huge help. So please encourage your neighbors to continue to share it as well. I'm constantly shocked every time I have conversations. Tonight, for example, at the Madison Reading Project with the Big Red Bus, someone goes, "How do we find out about your programs?" I said, "Well, I send a calendar home with your kid every month when I come to the school, so they get that." I was like, "And if you follow along in Facebook," and they're like, "Oh, I didn't realize." So it's just this. Everyone has to use word of mouth. That is the best way possible. I've had more people come to story times lately and they're like, "Oh, one of my friends just told me about this program." I was like, "Great, follow us on Facebook. Here's our newsletter." Like all of these things are here. We do always post a monthly calendar at Progress Drive where we've been hosting our programs. So by default now it'll kind of travel with us for our different programming. And so many times I see grownups that just take their phones and take a quick picture. And honestly, that has been the biggest thing that everyone uses is just, "Oh, here's what the month calendar looks like." So that seems to be the most frequently utilized referenced.
Do we post in the Bakken Park where they have kind of a splash pad, different events going on? No. I wonder if we could. Oh, I wonder if we could post in there.
I will reach out to Trista and see if I can.
Just in case that was not caught for the recording, the question was regarding Bakken Park. Is it bulletin board or?
Yeah, there's kind of like, I don't know what you would call it, but it's a pretty large area where there's different events going on that get posted by the village, I believe, near the splash pad.
Is it like locked under a plexiglass? Okay, I'll check in then.
Okay. Pretty in-depth discussion in there. I think we have some good direction there for Monica. So, final check here. Additional thoughts, comments on summer and fall programming and direction.
I have one more question. What had been decided with the Music in the Grove as far as like a David Landau? Right, is that
We are
still-
booked.
We are,
So
okay.
we have, following and as a direct result of looking back over our mission statement and making sure that we are hitting a lot of DEI components as well, and keeping that in mind, as well as what music is doing and what these musicians specifically do to support literacy components, as well as the interest in having more musical elements throughout. We are going to sponsor Tom Pease on June 18th at 6 o'clock. On July 9th, we are sponsoring David Landau at 6 o'clock. I had scheduled for August 20th Angela Puerta. She does bilingual music, so it's fantastic. And she actually does music for specifically adults as well as youth. So that's a really cool program. But I was asked to revisit by the board that 20th date, just because on the 27th, the village is doing their big night. Do we still want that moved?
And the all community night out is also
The 19th, the night before.
So, I
So
think
we still want her moved.
I would think so, because that is a big event that people are going to come out. You got a lot of people coming for like the movie that's there. I'm not sure if people will go to 2 events back to back in there. That's just my one concern, by having it literally the day after the community night out.
I would have the same worry that it's just going to be too much in the same, like, it's appealing to the same people in the community, and it's going to be too much in the same week is all. And we
Then
don't
that's
wanna-
my only hiccup, and I just have to get her to agree to a different date. So potentially we may have to drop her if we cannot get a different date. So that's the only hiccup there. But yes, we did move forward with that, and we did go ahead and utilize that with the approval, and because it meets all of those different elements in support of what our mission is, programming-wise, as well as that community component.
And to clarify, we do have the budget for that. So Monica and I did go in depth in the budget, and that would, we have more than enough for this summer, and then also to do the big events in the fall too. So we are sitting pretty in a good spot and on track for our budget here for this fiscal year. All right. Any other thoughts, comments? All right. If something comes up, please feel free to reach out to Monica. Moving on, communications miscellaneous business, discuss or consider approval of the vouchers, which are listed and attached as agenda items.
I move that we approve the vouchers.
Motion by Megan,
Second?
second by Ally.
It's not about the 3, instead takes it as a
Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, so moving on, we did library board president updates. Again, because of the reorg with Cindy having to step off due to our policy not having more than one trustee, I will handle village board updates moving forward. That's one thing I realized I forgot to mention there. So then moving on here to announcements, is our next meeting is going to be on June 17th at 6 p.m. here in Village Hall. So the next item is entering the closed session. So this closed session is regards to the mid-year review of the library board staff. The Village of Cottage Grove Library Board will enter into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85 1C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the government body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. To go into closed session, we will do a roll call vote. So I'll turn it over to Kelly.
All right. Anger?
Aye.
Yes, perfect. Braun? Eric? Okay. Ferger?
Aye.
Okay. Is it Sutter?
It is, and I.
Okay. Swanson?
Aye.
Vicencio?
Aye.
And Weber?
Aye.
Okay, with that, we are entering into closed session. Virtual attendee, link in your emails for that. So it's a separate Zoom meeting.